Hello, Martha Alderson again, the Plot Whisperer. We are here again for our plot book club for writers, and it's part of the YouTube series, How Do I Plot a Novel, Memoir, Screenplay. And again, I'm welcoming the NaNoWriMo writers who want to pre-plot before November so they can at least write with a focus in mind. And for all the rest of you who are writing a novel, memoir, and screenplay. We've been working on the 3 major plot lines. Last week we did the character emotional development plot, and that's the internal plot, or the inner plot, and it provides fascination and identification with the reader or the moviegoer. The character is really who the audience identifies with and gets under their skin and sort of becomes while they're watching or reading the story. The dramatic action plot, on the other hand, is the external plot. And this is the plot that provides excitement, tension, conflict, curiosity. This is what makes the story be page, having a page turnability concept to it, where you just have to turn the pages to see what happens next. And that generally comes from the dramatic action plot. And some writers, which I talk about a lot in my book, The Plot Whisperer, Secrets of Story Structure Any Writer Can Master, there are some writers who are really good at character development and some that are really good with dramatic action. And it really depends on how your brain functions. If you have a preference for the left or the right side of the brain, it sort of predetermines where your strengths and weaknesses will be in your writing life. So you may want to check that out in this book just to sort of get a sense of who you are. You may already know, but it might prove to be fascinating to take the test and see if you're a left brain or a right brained writer. So for the dramatic action plot, where the dramatic action really takes off is in the middle of the book, and that's the territory of the antagonists. And the antagonists are there to force the character to face themselves, make life such that they have to change, that they, as they try to make changes forward, the antagonists try to stop and interfere with the progress of the protagonist gaining their goal, achieving their goal. So the antagonists need to be as powerful as the protagonist is, because you want a balanced fight. You want, a story really is only as good as the protagonist and the antagonist, because they're the ones where all of sort of the external excitement comes through. So the protagonist is trying to change, and the antagonists are trying to keep him in his old position, because people don't really like change. So in my book, that's the book example for this month, Major Pettigrew's Last Stand, the Major is really trying to make changes in order to incorporate a woman that he now is caring very much for into his life, into all aspects of his life. And the more he tries to do that, the more he realizes that there are a lot of factions out there that want to prevent that. They don't approve of this. A lot of the people in the small village, British village where this man lives, they don't approve of him sort of falling in love with the foreigner. So they're constantly tripping him up and getting in his way. And he then has to open up his eyes. And at the crisis, he really starts to see and get it, that who these people are that he's grown up with and known all of his life. Finally, he sees them in a new light because he's trying to change and they're trying to keep him as he's always been. So for this book, Major Pettigrew's Last Stand, the major antagonists are the culture of this little village, the traditions, you don't break with tradition, the village society, himself, his son, his sister-in-law. I mean, they just stack up more and more, and if you made a list of all of them, you would see how it keeps the story moving. It's because of the antagonists, and because the Major has a reason to grow and change, because he's in love. So what I want you to do for this week, for your exercise, and this is for NaNoWriMo pre-plotters and any writer interested in writing a novel, memoir, or screenplay, or in the process of, I want you to create a list of antagonists that you think you can use in your story or you've already sort of introduced. And I want you to see them as antagonists. The protagonist is trying to evolve. The antagonists are trying to keep him stuck the way that he's always been, or she. So I want you to think of a list and try to think of all the different factions. You know, the weather, people, religious beliefs, tradition, all these different things that can interfere with your main character getting their goal and what they want. And for more on antagonists, if you just need a little bit more help or ideas, there's lots of examples in the Plot Whisperer book. In chapter 6, there's a whole chapter devoted just to the antagonists because they're so important. And on the first video series, How Do I Plot a Novel, Memoir, and Screenplay, there are lots of weeks that show, lots of sessions that show, I think there's some kind of little animal behind me, that talk about the antagonist in the middle of the project and how you craft it and sort of considerations that you have. So next month we're going to change to a new book. This is very much a thematically driven story, which is our third plot line. It's called Change of Heart, and the author is Jodi Picoult, whatever, I don't know. But it's a fascinating, there's multiple viewpoints, there's a lot of thematic significance to this book, and so I thought it would be an interesting one to sort of work on next time. So if you can, get it and start reading it, and good luck with the exercise, and I'll see you, we upload the videos every Monday, so I'll see you next Monday. Thanks.